Welcome, movie watchers. Thank you guys for stopping by my channel. Today I'll be sharing with you guys my tier list for all 60 Disney animated studio films. This will not include Pixar or those straight to DVD films. These are the 60 Disney films. This is my biggest tier list and my biggest ranking video. I did one a couple years ago for the 58 Disney movies, including Frozen 2. Did not include Raya and the Last Dragon, and now we have Encanto. So we got a couple more to go off of, and I haven't done a tier list for the Disney movies. I'm super excited to go through this. They're staring at me right now. 60 of them. It's going to be interesting. For people who don't know what a tier list is, you just rank them by the tier. The S tier is the best of the best, amazing. A tier is great films. B tier are good. C are just okay films, and D are the worst of the worst when it comes to the movies that we're ranking. And so we have 60 Disney movies here. They're in no particular order. I do see like a bunch of the older films in the top row and some of the newer ones in the bottom row. So I'm going to try to do it by tier. Show what the D will be, C, and then kind of work my way up. And so the first one I see here is Melody Time. This is part of the war package films that they created in the 40s that were just very inconsistent. A bunch of random shorts that really didn't have a structure. And that's where I think that a lot of these wartime films will probably be at the bottom of here. Films like Melody Time, Ichabod. We also will have the other films, if I can find them. There's so many movies in here. Geez, where are they? Fun and Fancy Free, Make Mine Music. Those are the ones that I think are deserving of being at the bottom of the list. Mainly these four, because they're just very inconsistent with the style of animation, the story, the tone, the themes that it does cover. There's really nothing memorable about any of these films. These other two ones, though, the Three Caballeros and Saludos Amigos, I like just a little more. There are okay films. The reason I put them above the other ones is because I really like the Three Caballeros. I like the moments with them, and I like the tone and the themes and what they do cover in here, even though some shorts in here do stand out as not being memorable. But I like how they blended the culture, and it was almost like it was a teaching point for these movies, but they make the best out of it. And the Three Caballeros are really fun characters, and there's just some really entertaining moments within there. So those two ones I do prefer over these other four wartime films. So just covering these ones, get those out of the way because they all kind of are the same. Some other bottom tier Disney movies that I can think of right off the bat. One would be Bolt. Bolt took what could have been a really fun film, pretty decent voice cast with Miley Cyrus and John Travolta, and could have made it a fun movie about this dog who's a TV star. There is some interesting things they do cover within it, but the jokes just do not land. The characters are really thin. There's really no depth given to these characters, and by the end of it, it's one of the least memorable Disney films. Another one I'm seeing it staring right at me is Dinosaur. Dinosaur is one of the films that I have not cared about. I remember having the VHS for this when it first was released, and I did not care to watch it at all. I remember watching half of it when I was younger, and then again a couple years ago. This is a boring film. It could have been a unique experience learning about dinosaurs, but it's one of the most dull Disney films I have ever seen. There's really no exciting moments to this film. It's just a drag to watch. Another one that stands out as some of the worst is the Black Cauldron. The Black Cauldron is probably one of the more darker Disney films, but much like these other films that are at the bottom of the list, there's nothing memorable about it. It's a movie that kind of fizzles out at the end. It feels very abrupt when it comes to its ending. There's also really no personality to these characters. It has a decent looking villain, but much like the main characters in here, there's nothing to really latch onto when it comes to the Black Cauldron. Also at the bottom of it, I see these two right here. Home on the Range, Chicken Little. These two are by far my least favorite Disney movies. Chicken Little started off strong and then ended up poor. The story of him finding his place in this small town could have been a very promising story. And then it brought in aliens for some reason, and it just became stupid. Home on the Range, there's literally nothing funny about this film. There's no jokes. There's no memorable characters. The plot is thin. It just treks along and just gives us more and more ridiculous moments. So these films right here, these are my least favorite Disney films. If I had to go off of ranking them, Chicken Little would be the worst, Home on the Range, then Dinosaur, then Bolt, then Make Mine Music, move these, and then Fun and Fancy Free, then Melody Time, then Ichabod, and I'm forgetting one. This one would go between these two. The Rescuers. God, The Rescuers. I will say right now, just because we're talking about The Rescuers, Down Under is a significant improvement over The Rescuers. It has really poor animation. The characters, there's really no development for them or the story of these two little mice. I mean, just looking at this poster right now, it brings back memories of watching this film and just being frustrated with the overall story and the characters within it. So yeah, these are my least favorite Disney films. So ranking them from the worst all the way down. The Black Cauldron, at least it has a story compared to Ichabod, Melody Time, Fun and Fancy Free, Make My Music. At least there's an actual story. So moving on to okay Disney movies. Let's see, going off of here, I see okay films. Wreck-It Ralph 2. If I can get this. Wreck-It Ralph 2. It's not the best Disney sequel. Compared to the first Wreck-It Ralph film, there's not very many exciting moments. The first film did a great job of having that relationship between Vanellope and Ralph. Here, they're kind of tearing it down, which is odd that they want Vanellope to do her own thing. Ralph is kind of doing his own thing too. And so by doing that, you're taking away what made that first film work so well. It still looks really great. Both Ralph and Vanellope are really likable characters, but that development and that relationship was so strong in that first film, and the chance to have it grow even more in the second film is non-existent. And so it just having them do their own thing doesn't provide for a lot of fun moments in here. Also, Frozen 2, another poor Disney sequel. My daughter loves Frozen, Frozen 2, Tangled, Princess and the Frog, Moana. The more I think about it, the more I do not really care much for Frozen and Frozen 2. Elsa is such a self-centered character that it makes it really hard to enjoy this film. The musical moments between Olaf and Elsa in the beginning is great. The journey for Elsa and discovering more about herself, I really could care less about it. Just because I don't like her as a character. And she's mean to her sister. She's self-centered. And so the journey that she's going through, I just could care less about. We also have the new Winnie the Pooh film, not new, but the second one in this list. There's 2 Winnie the Pooh films. I mean, I like Winnie the Pooh, and I'm happy that this was like the way that it looked compared to, like, you know, Frozen 2 and Ralph. It's just it's a not really interesting story. I mean, I know there's a lot of people who do like Winnie the Pooh, but it's just not for me compared to other films. It's just a pretty simple story. The characters are cute. Yeah, that's about it for me. Atlantis. I know a lot of people like Atlantis. I'm just gonna steal Atlantis and Treasure Planet because I do think that both of those I kind of have the same feeling. They're very popular films when it comes to people who like Disney. People are like, oh my god, I love Atlantis and Treasure Planet. It's some of my favorite films ever. Those are 2 films I didn't watch a lot growing up. I was stuck on the early Disney movies and Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid and Lion King, Mulan, Hercules, Tarzan, all those ones. And so I really hardly ever watched Atlantis or Treasure Planet. So I don't have that strong connection. They are very different Disney films. The sci-fi adventure is probably the best thing that's going for it. The journey is a lot of fun. What they explore is unique. But I don't have that connection to these films. I don't have a connection to the characters. I don't have a connection to the story. Even though it's a lot of fun, I'm just not as invested as I would want to be. But it's all there. I feel like the story's there. The characters are there. But they're not really given a lot of depth. And there's probably going to be a lot of people who will disagree with me. But I think Treasure Planet and both Atlantis go hand in hand how I feel about both of them. We also have The Rescuers Down Under, which I just saw it. Where is it? Rescuers Down Under. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There it is. There's so many films. Rescuers Down Under. I like this film. 1, the animation looks different. 2, the story is different. 3, the characters just feel different. It's just so different compared to the first one. And that's the best thing for it, is that it feels different and it's improved on that first film. The characters feel fleshed out. The animation is different. Different setting gives it a different experience. And so I always remember watching Rescuers Down Under growing up compared to the first Rescuers. But I still think it's an okay film. It's fun characters and a fun story. Next up, we have Sword in the Stone, right here. Sword in the Stone. And I'm also just going to steal a couple more real quick, and we'll talk all about them. Aristocats, Oliver and Company. Those 3. Oliver and Company has one of my favorite songs by Billy Joel. I absolutely love listening to. But it's a story that I think it's more focused on being adorable rather than developing an actual in-depth story. Cute, cuddly characters, but a really thin plot. Aristocats. Every time I watch Aristocats, I want to enjoy it because it's a classic Disney movie. It's older animation. It's one of their earlier films. But there's really not much that I could sit here and say, oh, I love Aristocats. I want to sit here and tell you that I love Aristocats, but it's just okay. It's really childish. It's really silly. That's about it, really. And Sword in the Stone is kind of the same thing. Sword in the Stone feels like it has a very abrupt ending to it. Merlin is a fun character, I do think. The animation is fun. It's whatever. It's hard to come up with some of these thoughts for some of these okay films and bottom films because I just don't really care much for all of these films, really. But these ones, Sword in the Stone is a decent film. And so the last one I was going to go off of, I have a list here. The last one I want to go off of was, if I can find it real quick, I can get this one over. Where is it? Fox and the Hound. Fox and the Hound is okay. It's one of their more emotional films. I do think the relationship between Copper and Todd started off promising, but there's not enough time when they're younger to make the parts where they're older emotional, because it wants it to be emotional. It wants you to feel something when they are older and they're no longer friends. It wants it to be emotional and you care for that. But the way that the first part of the movie is just so rushed, it's hard to appreciate the second half of the movie. Despite some emotional moments in the beginning, it doesn't hit as well as the first part does, and the second part just feels very flat. So those are the okay films. I would say, going off of this, we would now move on from Black Cauldron to Fox and the Hound to Oliver and Company, and then Saludos Amigos, then the Three Caballeros. I prefer the Three Caballeros over Saludos Amigos. Then we'll go with Aristocats. Ooh, it's already there. Sword and Stone, awesome. Treasure Planet, then Rescuers Down Under, nice. Then Atlantis, nice. Winnie the Pooh, Frozen 2, and Ralph. Wow, look at that. It was fun. All right, now these are the good films. We'll have some different things to say about them. So we have our bottom tier, our okay, and now we're moving on to our good films. The first one, we'll go down here at the bottom, good films. We'll have Raya and the Last Dragon. I think Raya and the Last Dragon, when I saw it when it was released on Disney Plus, I thought it was a good film. The animation is very strong. Raya is a very strong character, very independent, very confident, and I like that about this film. The Last Dragon, voiced by Awkwafina, is a very frustrating character. It kind of separates the tone of the movie, where Raya, if it all focused on her, it would be a much more serious film. With Raya, it adds in that humor that kind of off balances the movie and kind of separates itself from the rest of the movie. And it's a little bit confusing because it starts off very serious. The journey is serious. All the other characters that are introduced, I feel like, contribute to that. And then we have Awkwafina, who does a good job voicing this character, kind of throws off the rest of the film. Also, other films that are good, we'll go with Frozen. Like I said with Frozen 2, I've learned that I don't really care much for these films. Frozen is much better than Frozen 2, I will say that. So Elsa is a self-centered character that makes it hard to enjoy, but I think they do enough with Elsa. I think they do enough with Anna and Sven and Kristoff and Olaf to offset that and make it really fun to watch. And so those are really entertaining characters. There's some really good songs. Let It Go, Love is an Open Door, the song about summer with Olaf. Those are really good moments within the film. But I could care less about the relationship between sisters within this film. I liked more of the development between Kristoff and Anna in the film and less about Elsa. If we focus a little less on Elsa, this might be a better film. But I know a lot of people like Frozen. It's a huge movie, but for me, it's a good film. I will say that. But Elsa is not a very fun character. Also in here is Meet the Robinsons. I really liked Meet the Robinsons. It's one I watched a lot in the mid 2000s because I like him discovering that these are his family, and it's a nice twist to the movie. And you get to learn about all the other characters in here, and eventually learn that they are his family, and they're kind of going back and forth to his friend when he was younger, and that how that affected him when he was older. I think the movie plays off nicely between the past, the present, and the future to tell a really compelling story. Also in here, Pocahontas. Pocahontas is a good film. It's been a while since I've watched Pocahontas. I started this huge ranking back in like 2018, prior to Frozen 2's release. But Pocahontas is a good one. It's not as memorable as the films that came out in the 90s, alongside films like The Lion King and Mulan and Tarzan and all those ones that came out around that time. It's not as strong as those ones are, but Pocahontas is a strong character. It tells a very heartbreaking story in a very personal way. Really good music. Color of the Wind song is iconic, contributes a lot to the story of Pocahontas. But that growth of watching Pocahontas become that strong character is what makes this film work so well. And her character and people that she lives with are challenged quite often in this movie, and it brings out that very personal, emotional side to the film. Also, good films. The first Winnie the Pooh film, the original one. I prefer like the classic style to Winnie the Pooh, the animation as well. And the new one felt, very clean, but I prefer the old traditional Winnie the Pooh. It's very cute and very cuddly. Straight to the point story that gives a chance to appreciate all the characters within here. The Great Mouse Detective also is another good Disney film. When I watched this film, I remember thinking, I like this one a little more than I thought I did. Growing up, I remember trying to watch it, and the beginning terrified me for some reason, and I never watched it after that. And so, actually sitting down as an adult and watching it, I liked the story. When this toy maker is kidnapped and Basil goes on the greatest detective case of his career, you really feel that sense of urgency. And Professor Ratigan is a very sinister character, and so you really feel that urgency in the movie. And Basil is a very fun character, and it makes that journey and this detective case that he's on a lot of fun. And I think that the progression of the story and him trying to find this toy maker really drew me into the film when I watched it as an adult. We got up next Brother Bear. Brother Bear is a good film. I know a lot of people would say maybe it's okay or it's bad, but I really like the growth of the relationship between the two bears. Joaquin Phoenix's character has a distaste for bears, and eventually turns into a bear and has to learn to be a bear, develops this relationship with Coda, protects him, and learns about everything about life, and changes his thoughts on bears. It's a fun experience about animals and nature and growing and overcoming everything. Some of the humor in here, especially from Rick Moranis' character, which is odd to see him in this movie. But I think what makes this film the most entertaining and most memorable is that relationship between the two bears. And the last one I would say on here, though we got two more actually. Fantasia 2000. And I did not like having the live actors in here introduce the sequences, because the sequences are breathtaking. They are beautiful, and they tell a very compelling story just within those few moments. But having the adults But having the stars in here, like Steve Martin, introduce it, just really halts everything from having this natural progression to it. But I do think that Fantasia 2000 is a good movie, but I did not like having the live actors in front of the band introducing everything. That's the one thing I did not like. And the last one in this list would be Hunchback of Notre Dame. Man, I have always just felt something for Quasimodo. Any moment that he is being mistreated or showcasing his emotions and his personality, it's always so heartbreaking because he's a very likable character. I think that he is very endearing, compelling character. Everything else within it, I think, is rather weak. There is some really good animation when it comes to showcasing the city and the tower and where he lives. But other than that, it's just kind of average at best. But I think having Quasimodo as the character, what makes this film a lot better than it is. So, going off of this list, we would go from Wreck-It Ralph 2 to Pocahontas. Then we will have Meet the Robinsons. And then we'll have Raya and the Last Dragon. Then we'll have Winnie the Pooh. The Great Mouse Detective. Fantasia 2000. Hunchback, Brother Bear, and then Frozen. All right, I got 2 tiers left. And so now we're moving on to the great Disney films. This will be fun. The great Disney films. We have Tangled. I love Tangled. My daughter watches so much of Frozen, so much of Tangled, so much of Moana, Princess and the Frog. And anytime I hear a song from Tangled, I think, oh man, I really like this film. Rapunzel and Flynn are such likable characters. I love the reason behind this film. And she wants to learn about her parents. And she sees these lanterns every year for her birthday. And discovering what that really means. It's a fun experience. A fun journey for this character. And she's really naive. She's innocent because she's been stuck in this tower for quite some time. The musical moments are great. Mandy Moore as Rapunzel is terrific. Zachary Levi as Flynn, really great. They developed this bond throughout this movie that is so fun to watch. I love Tangled. Beautiful animation film. Next up, Encanto. Let's take this new one. Man, I like the Encanto. Even though Mirabelle didn't have any powers, she still wanted to find her purpose in the House of Madrigal, and all of the other characters had these powers, like telling the future, connecting with animals, growing flowers, healing anything by food. And so watching her trying to find her purpose is a journey that you are siding with and you want to see happen because you want her to feel comfortable. You want her to have a place in the home. I like how it really stayed within the house. It didn't go off anywhere else because it made that house feel very important, almost like a character within itself. And I know the house does move, but it felt very important to the story. The songs are great. Stephanie Beatrice is amazing as Mirabelle. It's a story that got emotional at the end of it all. And it's just a really fun movie. I really liked this movie. We're also going to take Zootopia. Zootopia, one of the more recent Disney movies, 2016. I think we got 2 that year, that and Moana. This film is really good. It's a movie that really explores the world. A lot of these movies, like Encanto or Tangled or Frozen, Meet the Robinsons, whatever film, really stick to its characters in one central location. Whereas Zootopia really explored the world of Zootopia. And I thought that was a blast because you got to see all the different animals and all of the different regions of Zootopia. but at its core, two very different characters with a bunny and a fox, predator, prey, and watching them understand each other and their differences made the relationship very strong. And watching Judy Hopps grow as a character, watching her work in the police force, it's a lot of fun. And Nick Wilde in the film, voiced by Jason Bateman, watching him, try to do good things is what makes this film a lot of fun. I've always liked Zootopia, one of the better ones. Next up, we'll take Big Hero 6. Big Hero 6 was a blast. I saw this movie in theaters a couple times actually, and Baymax immediately shot to one of the most adorable Disney characters there are. Baymax is a character that's very limited in his vocabulary, but when Hero discovers Baymax and that his brother was working on it, he takes Baymax and a team of his friends, and they all develop these suits, and it becomes a fun superhero movie filled with a very heartwarming story about loss and love at its core, and really thrilling sequences. This is probably one of the more action-packed Disney movies, but it offered a really good story with very interesting characters. Other films on here in the great list, Wreck-It Ralph, movie filled with video game references. I saw Sonic in there and Bowser, and characters from Street Fighter. Ralph is a character that's misunderstood. People think he's a bad guy, but really he's just a nice person that's really misunderstood. And watching him try to prove that in the film makes him a character worth exploring. And that relationship with Vanellope, big and small, and watching them grow, created some of the best Disney duos. And just kind of when we get to that part of the story, it feels very simple and easy, and I like that because it allowed for that growth between the two characters. All the video game references, the quick story, and the quick animation made it a really great story. Other films on this list, Hercules. I watched Hercules so many times growing up. That zero to hero story makes Hercules so fun to watch. And Phil, voiced by Danny DeVito. Please, if you ever do a live action Hercules, just bring back Danny DeVito. Meg and Hades in the film. These are all iconic Disney characters. The score is absolutely terrific. Really provides that heroic feel to it. Watching Hercules be tested quite often in the story, him discovering who he really is, it feels very grand. There's a lot of moments in here that just feel epic and big, and it needs to be, because this is dealing with gods, and if it felt small, it would not work. But since the creatures in here and the action scenes feel gigantic, it really fits the story. Other movies in here. Bambi. Bambi is a great Disney movie. A very straightforward movie that makes me cry every single time. Every single time I watch Bambi, the waterworks. But it just means that what they did with it is they developed something that was worth crying about. This Bambi, it's worth crying about. It's a sad movie, but growing off of what happened in the middle half of the movie with Bambi's mother, you're still interested in learning about Bambi and watching the character grow. It's one of the early Disney films. The animation for its time is beautiful. The characters are cute. The story has that emotional moments, but also has that really fun, innocent. It has that fun innocence to it as well. That just makes it, one of their best. Next up, there's so many great films to go off of. Princess and the Frog is another great one. And Princess and the Frog, it's not one I watched a lot, but every time that I do watch it, I like Tiana. I think she's a really good character. And watching her try to navigate being a frog, it's a classic story. And it's done in a kind of modern, updated version of it. But at its core, it's about like your passion and your drive for it all and getting back to it. And it's done in a way that feels very meaningful, but also a lot of fun. We also have Cinderella. Cinderella is a great Disney movie. Beautiful animation. Cinderella, that kind of rags to riches story, makes this character really grow within her own. She is often bossed around by her evil stepmother, her stepsisters, and you just like root for her constantly because she is so nice, so kind, and you just want her to have all of the best things in life. And we get those moments, and it's moments that you just cheer for. Bippity Boppity Boo, we all know that song. The Fairy Godmother. It's just moments, just a film that is a story that you're just cheering for along the way. And for its time of its release, beautiful animation. These films, Disney films, just look great in general. The Little Mermaid. Where's that one at? Little Mermaid. People love this movie. My mom's favorite Disney movie. You're going to find out mine soon. Little Mermaid, though, is a great one. Ariel is a fun character to watch. She's interested in all things about humans, and so when she gets to encounter humans or be on land, she's very giddy about it, and it makes those moments a lot of fun. But the moments with Ursula are very terrifying. I gotta say, they're quite sinister. Ursula is one of the best Disney villains. But The Little Mermaid is filled with some of the best Disney songs. Kiss the Girl song and the opening song about all of her gizmos and gadgets. Some of the best Disney music, and they're not just having songs in there just to have songs and make it, this is just a good musical and just fun songs. But those songs add something to these characters. It's moving the characters forward. It's giving you information about these characters. You're understanding their personality, their interests. And so those musical moments fit nicely with the story. And Ariel and Prince Eric, these are all characters that you care for. You like them. The writing's good for these characters. And it ends on a happy note with some thrilling moments along the way. And so, Little Mermaid. I really like it. Other ones on here would be Lady and the Tramp. Lady and the Tramp is a great Disney movie. Two polar opposite dogs, Lady and Tramp, come from different backgrounds. It's a classic story of understanding characters' differences and watching them learn from each other. The Siamese cats, the twins, I always was terrified when I was younger with that sequence. But watching these two characters, Lady and Tramp, and exploring the city and discovering things about themselves and each other is very sweet. And the moments with spaghetti and meatballs, lovely. Cute film. Also, we have 101 Dalmatians. Cruella de Vil, God, I hate her. One of the best Disney villains, but there's that good sense of urgency in this film to get the dogs back and make sure no one gets harmed. And it moves fairly quick. It's got a quick pace to it. But the dogs are so sweet. The humans are so sweet too. It's all very lovely, except for Cruella de Vil and that sense of urgency. But the dogs are adorable. Those moments are fun to watch. And I like how sweet. The first like 20-ish, 30 minutes of the movie were having the two adults meet, the dogs meet, everybody's falling in love. It's adorable. Other great Disney films, we would have Robin Hood. I love the story of Robin Hood. I really do. Taking from the rich, giving to the poor. Any version of Robin Hood, I will watch, even if it's bad. I will sit down and watch it whenever it comes out. And even the Taron Egerton one that came out with Jamie Foxx, I did like. But taking my favorite story and putting it with animals. Classic Disney, and it made it work. It never got rid of what made that story work. Never got rid of the tone. Never got rid of the personalities and what Robin Hood does. And so it took everything I loved about Robin Hood and gave it fun, cute characters. And so Robin Hood's story, it's just a blast to watch. I've always cared about it. I've always liked reading the story, seeing any adaptation I could about it. And this is one of the best for me. Other ones on here, Fantasia. Some of the best short moments when it comes to any of these films, like these wartime films, or even Fantasia 2000s. It took the short films and made each one very significant to the movie. With the Mountain and Sorcerer Mickey, even though a lot of these do feel very brief, they utilize their time and make sure the animation is beautiful, the score is beautiful, all of it rounds out to be one of the best earlier Disney films. Other ones on here, Mulan. Watching Mulan challenge herself and people's thoughts about her as well creates one of the more complex characters in a Disney movie because she's very confident and she won't let anything really get in her way. She has to disguise herself as a male in order to protect her family and herself as well. It just shows that drive for this character. I kind of felt the same way. What film was I just talking about? Raya and the Last Dragon. With all of Mulan, it's very serious. With Mushu, it's fun. But it works a lot better than what Raya and the Last Dragon did because I think Mushu is a, really entertaining character, and Mulan herself is a very strong character. And so they're not the same, but they do have a pretty solid relationship within the movie. Just all the moments with Mulan and the army and her protecting her family is more serious than having Mushu in the film, but Mushu is really entertaining in the movie. Other ones on this list, Tarzan. Phil Collins guy, he can do no wrong. Those moments with the music from Phil Collins just evokes like some emotion because it's just so good. I could listen to Phil Collins, the soundtrack, constantly. But watching Tarzan discover other humans and himself, that fish out of water kind of thing for both him and Jane, provides some real entertaining moments. And watching his family, Tarzan's family in the film, protect him and push him forward and be really hard on him. He's got a lot on his plate, this dude, but he never really gives up with things. Phil Collins, I keep playing the music in my head. It's just so good. Other ones on this list, Lilo and Stitch, Emperor's New Groove, Dumbo. Those are all great Disney movies. Lilo and Stitch. Stitch is something else. Chaotic, crazy, wild, but you just absolutely love the character. And Lilo, she's just the same, and they're very similar. He's an alien, she's a human, but they play off of each other so well, and it makes it just for a very fun movie. Really innocent movie. It's a movie just it just feels very free when it comes to watching them grow. Emperor's New Groove. A lot of people would say it's some of the best ever. I think the Emperor is a very self-centered character, but it allows for that growth because he is so self-centered. So you know that there's got to be some progression for this character, and it does work. And Dumbo hits very hard in the beginning, but from there, we get to see the character overcome a lot of things and become very confident and very sweet. Dumbo is very cute. So I think that's about it when it comes to the great Disney movies. And so ranking these, we go from Frozen to we're going to go with Mulan, and then we're going to go with Wreck-It Ralph, and then we'll go with Princess and the Frog. Where's that? Princess and the Frog. And then we'll go with Encanto, the newest one. And then we'll go with Dumbo. And then we'll go with The Emperor's New Groove. And then Lilo and Stitch. And then Robin Hood. And then Lady and the Tramp. And then we will go with 101 Dalmatians. And then we will go with Tarzan. Bambi. Where's Bambi at? Bambi's right here. Bambi. Zootopia. Little Mermaid. Big Hero 6. Cinderella. Fantasia. Oh, Hercules is right here. Cinderella, Fantasia, and Tangled. So these last ones are going to be the best of the best. And so I'll just kind of count down. And I think there's actually 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The number 10, coming in at number 10, would be Alice in Wonderland. Very whimsical movie, very colorful, very bright. Alice is a very kind character. When she meets the Mad Hatter, the Queen of Hearts, the Caterpillar, all of these characters, I just love Alice in Wonderland. I love the rides at Disneyland, the Teacup ride and Alice Wonderland ride as well. It's just a movie that makes sure that you have a fun experience. It's a very fun film, very cute. Alice is enjoying her moments. Despite the Queen of Hearts, this is a movie that's just all about having a fun experience. And she's not worried about a lot of things within the movie, except that Queen of Hearts. But it's a movie that just makes sure is that it's taking advantage of that whimsical plot. Next up, we'll have Moana at number 9. I've grown to appreciate Moana over the last couple years. And Moana in Maui, it's really great. Moana is a very strong character. Right away, she becomes a very independent character. She wants to do her own thing. She has to stay on the island, become something bigger than she is, but she wants to do more. She wants to challenge herself. And Maui is stuck in his ways, and Dwayne Johnson is perfect as Maui. The songs in here, How Far I'll Go, What Can I Say Except You're Welcome, those songs in here are so perfect. I absolutely love Moana. Next up, we would have Sleeping Beauty. Very strong opening with Maleficent cursing Sleeping Beauty. And then we get to when she's known as Briar Rose with the fairies. Those are the more lovely, sweet moments. And she doesn't know about her past. And then we get into those more darker moments with Prince Philip and him protecting Aurora and Maleficent turning into the dragon. Starts off dark, has very sweet, lighthearted moments, and then ends up very dark as well, filled with great animation along the way. Next up, we would have Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, their first Disney movie, and it started off very strong. For its release, it's beautiful to look at. Snow White is a very kind character, very innocent, and the Seven Dwarfs are a lot of fun. Dopey being my favorite, but watching her be like a mother figure to them and them helping her out along the way and having that moment at the end when they think that she has passed away and they're crying. It's upsetting. It's emotional. But it ends up being very happy. The classic story for Disney characters, and everything's got to end all sweet. But Snow White, the best one of its time. Then we would move on to Aladdin, which I think is this one. Yes, Aladdin. I love Aladdin. Aladdin is a character that's very fun to watch. Jasmine is a very strong character. Robin Williams gives, I would take every single one of these movies, and he gives the best Disney voice acting ever. He makes the character so fun. He makes the character likable. He makes all of the jokes land. It's so fun. It feels improvised at times. It feels just like Robin Williams, classic Robin Williams, and I absolutely love that man. I miss that guy. But the story and the visuals in here are perfect. This is some of the best work Disney has done. Moving on, we have The Jungle Book. I love the relationship between Baloo and Mowgli. Bagheera is like a mentor to Mowgli. We have King Louie with his iconic song. But I love those lighthearted moments between Mowgli and Baloo. Makes it really fun to watch. And the animation is great. And the kind of fish out of the water. He doesn't know how to be a human, but all he knows is to live with the wolves. Makes it for a fun movie. Moving on, we have 4 more here. We got Peter Pan would be next. I love Neverland. I love Peter Pan. I love I Can Fly song as they're going to Neverland. All the beginning moments of discovering Peter Pan. That conflict between him and Hook is iconic. The Lost Boys. There's just so many iconic moments in here. Beautiful animation. A lot of great songs too. Peter Pan is just one of the best movies. I can't wait to I want to go watch all of these weekend. All of these amazing films. I just can't wait to watch them again. Next up, we would have Beauty and the Beast. The first film that was an animated film to be nominated for Best Picture, and rightful so. Beauty and the Beast. It's beautiful. Despite the Beast taking Belle in and her just kind of accepting it, I think she starts to understand him a little more, and that's when those moments of growth for the Beast come out, and you start to kind of peel away at the character, who he really is, and watching Belle kind of accept him and then also understand him as well. It starts to transition into a more beautiful story that started off very heartbreaking, and it started off pretty strong for these characters, and watching her being taken away from all of that and then develops into something more sweet. I love that growth for these characters and understanding each other. It's some of the best. We got 2 more. The Lion King, and since there's only one left, we'll just go ahead and throw it in there. Pinocchio. Start with Lion King. Lion King, Mufasa, Simba, Scar, Timon, Pumbaa. These are some of the best Disney characters. This has the best soundtrack by any Disney movie ever. It feels grand, big. The moments of watching Mufasa die with Simba next to him, it's very emotional, very sad. But he comes back to Pride Rock and takes on Scar. It's just filled with some of the best musical moments, and there's a lot of them. When I think about Lion King, I think about I Can't Wait to Be King, and the musical moment with Scar and Hakuna Matata. They all work, and especially with Hakuna Matata, it provides that growth, that transition for Simba. And Can You Feel the Love Tonight? It adds to the story. So these musical moments add a lot to the story. It's beautiful to look at. The opening Circle of Life song, probably one of the best Disney songs there is. Lion King, it's truly, truly terrific. Top 30 best films of all time. And then we have Pinocchio. Pinocchio is hands down my favorite Disney movie. I have a strong connection for Pinocchio. I was actually in a Disneyland commercial when I was younger with Pinocchio walking hand in hand down Main Street. I think it was 4 or 5. And right there, I like the character. It's so fun to like walk right next to him. I have a lot of statues and things for Pinocchio, but the story of this young boy who's constantly lying, and he's a wooden puppet and becomes a real boy. And what does it take to be a real boy? What does it take to be a human? And, you know, that's telling the truth and being brave and all of that. And watching Pinocchio do all those things, that transition from someone that doesn't have these human characteristics and gathering them throughout the movie and learning how to care for his father in the movie Geppetto, and watching him, you know, tell the truth, and just that growth is what I absolutely love about Pinocchio. The opening moments with Geppetto's workshop and all of the things that he's created, and the ticking and all of that, and introduction of Jiminy Cricket. It's very quiet and very fun. Watching Pinocchio grow as a character is my favorite thing in any Disney movie. So yeah, those are my favorite Disney movies up top. We got the worst down here, and then we go into the okay films. These are the good movies here for the B tier. The A tier are the great ones. There's a lot of them. I think the most. And then the S tier is the best of the best. And there's 60 of them. We did it. We put all 60 movies in a tier list, and my butt hurts. I'm tired. So there you guys have it. My tier list for all of the Disney movies. What is your favorite movie? What is your least favorite movie? Leave your ranking down below for all 60 of the Disney movies. This has been a lot of fun. My biggest ranking video yet. I probably won't do this for a few more Disney movies because it is so big. But I got some fun ranking videos and tier lists planned for 2022. So make sure you hit that subscribe button down below so you guys don't miss any of these up and coming ranking videos. My name is Just Watches Movies, and you guys stay classy, YouTube.